Welcome to the Combustion Chronicles podcast, where bold leaders combine with big ideas to create game-changing disruption. I'm Sean Nason, your host for the Combustion Chronicles podcast. Throughout this series, we're bringing together the most unique and influential minds we could find to have honest conversations about not being okay with the status quo, blowing shit up, and working together to influence our shared future. We believe that when bold leaders ignite consumer-centric ideas with passion and grit, the result is an explosion that creates a better world for all of us. On this episode of the Combustion Chronicles, we are really excited to have Ville Levaniemi, founder of HappyOrNot, Inc., the company behind the globally recognized smiley feedback system, which empowers companies to develop their business by improving experiences. Ville is an entrepreneur with a background in software and gaming businesses in Europe and the US, with 15 plus years in international marketing and sales and 17 plus years in B2B sales and marketing of software services and products. Ville has held board member roles in several technology and services companies and strengthened HappyOrNot's position in the US market by leading the launch of HappyOrNot Americas, Inc. And I'm really excited. Welcome, Ville.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And people that are not familiar with HappyOrNot, how did it get started and what was the premise of starting it?
Like you mentioned, been doing the software and gaming business before HappyOrNot. So actually my co-founder colleague, Ville Levaniemi, who I've been working for 30 years, almost no, not 30 years, 25 years or so. He was actually originally 15 years old when he came up with the idea of this anonymous, easy feedback terminal. So he was living in a small town in Finland and he was a computer geek. So he went to the local computer store to buy floppy disks for his computer quite oftenly. Every time he went in, he was kind of receiving really nasty kind of bullying customer service from the guy that was working there for some reason. So Heikki thought that this doesn't feel right. So why is this guy, I'm bringing my money in the business. This guy is not apparently doing a good thing to their business. So he just kind of came up with this idea that what if he had some sort of easy anonymous feedback button that he could press and tell about the service of this guy to his managers and to the headquarters of the company that would be in Helsinki, Finland. The idea came from the consumer, which Heikki was back then. And, it has been haunting in his mind for many, many years. 2008, we're running this mobile gaming business that was growing quite rapidly. Heikki was the CEO of the company, and he felt like that he doesn't hear about people, about employees enough anymore. So he kind of revisited the idea of this feedback button, and he told me about it, and he kind of thought that maybe this could be a good business. So basically we started to think about it, and we did some feasibility studies on how it could work. And then after that, we went to meet a couple of retail companies in Finland, banking companies, some large organizations. They kind of encouraged us that, yeah, why not do it? So we did it, and here we are.
Well, awesome. And I was introduced to HappyOrNot, I believe, in early 2010 or 11, when I had done some international travel. And I was with you and the team earlier in 2020 in New York City before the pandemic hit. And I remember sitting on a panel in a session with some of your customers, and I made a statement around, I think that NPS, so Net Promoter Score, is bullshit and that everyone needs to use HappyOrNot because it actually gives real-time feedback that you can do something with. And I still stand pretty firm in that. I'm not a huge fan of NPS. I think it looks in the rearview mirror. So what is HappyOrNot looking to disrupt next?
When we started doing it, we had our first great customers who kind of, me and Heikki, we were thinking about collecting and using feedback as a safety net and be able to kind of predict the future, how we are doing, to have some kind of index that are we going up or down. Of course, it's the great first customer pioneers who taught us that what actually is the value of the service. And it's interesting quote from Jack Welch, who is kind of some sort of leadership guru. He has said, that it's the three most important things you need to measure in business are customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and cash flow. He said this quite many decades ago, I believe. So in the beginning, when we were, starting things with Take, it's quite weird that Jack Welch has told this cash flow is being measured continuously. Employee satisfaction is measured once a year. But, like mentioned, so customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction surveys, in the past, they are really long. There is multiple questions. The businesses are doing it once a year. They wait for the results for a couple of months and so on. So I would like to claim that we really disrupted the quality of the CX, customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction data. We took it entirely to the next level. We made it actionable in real time. We democratized it. We made it transparent. We give the access to the people who are actually working in the frontline to their own data. We digitalized the analysis. So no more weeks of waiting. It's in your hand immediately if you are the hardworking person in the front line who actually is being measured. What kind of service are you providing to your customer? You should be the one to own the data as well. We automatize the distribution of the data, based on the user persona and so on. Of course, we like to claim that we have disrupted a lot in the business or in the world of customer experience measurement.
I will tell you, as a person who's worked in the experience field for 10 plus years, that you truly have disrupted it, in my opinion. Where do you see this going? Because you guys have really, again, in my opinion, disrupted this a lot.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, from the viewpoint of untapped potential in the world, we have not even scratched the surface. It's, the customers, the first customers who encouraged us to do this, they are still on board, and that's almost 10 years of time. So it's ongoing program for them. There's quite a lot you need to do to make sure that your customers are engaged in this operation, in this program. Your employees are engaged to this program, not afraid of it. They need to be they need to be fans of it. And that's when it starts to work. So I would say that there's so much more to do for not just us, for the experts like you, that there's so much kind of unlocked potential in the real people who are working in the real locations providing services, whether they are salespersons, whether they are serving food or providing whatever, it just seems to be that the companies who jumped to do this and to actually disrupt their business give the power and responsibility to the frontline people in the form of the data and insights, so that they can actually learn from their own doing, become better in what they are doing, become prouder of what they are doing instead of just working there. It's just awesome to see the results it can bring to the companies. I always get excited when I think about what has not been done yet.
I love where you talk about that your first customers are still your customers today, and they have provided you with your best feedback to shape the company. What I love about you and the team at HappyOrNot is that you take this real feedback and you move fast, and you're not afraid to potentially fail and then change and continue to try. And that leads me into the next question, Ville, of what's been your biggest challenge on your journey at HappyOrNot, and why?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Relates to what we have been discussing already. I think it's the whole idea of HappyOrNot is to make the customer experience data transparent and give it to the people who it belongs to, instead of the biggest bosses are kind of looking at the papers and doing conclusions based on that. That's not the way to get people engaged to the program. So I think still the biggest challenge has been always the fear of the companies who are afraid of doing it. Knowledge, the data, that's power. In many cases, the top management maybe is used to be the beholder of that power. Some of them are against of the idea to give the power to the middle management, to the teams who are working in the front line. It's always the most debated topic that should the frontline people have the access to their own data. We, of course, are persistently telling that yes, they should. We have our most successful customer cases are from the companies who actually did it the way that engaged, and there was a throughout commitment from the organization. And of course, nowadays we are fortunate to have plenty of these, long-term clients, and they are happy to encourage and explain to the people in doubt that what actually they have achieved, what is the big reward, and why you must get the whole team and also consumer engaged. And that requires transparency. Otherwise, it's not interesting to everyone if someone is kind of sitting on the data and just using it for their own benefit.
I still love how you stand true to the transparency piece and how you guys at HappyOrNot have said, let's push this down to the frontline worker, the person that is most engaged and in contact with the customer. And that sounds so simple, but this, Ville, that companies really struggle with that. When we work with a partner in Las Vegas, as you know, Cure for the Kids, we put these terminals throughout the whole clinic. And we've had such tremendous insights with their director of patient experience, Kat, that we can pinpoint exactly where something's going wrong immediately along the journey. We talked about this failure and biggest challenge. What still keeps you up at night when you think about this industry and the work you guys want to do at HappyOrNot?
It's an overwhelming challenge to do the big change, try to achieve the big change in the organizations, because it's so easy to do this wrong as well, because it's technically this is really easy product and solution to deploy in the organization. That's one of the strengths, of course, of HappyOrNot, but also that could be one of the pitfalls to the customers if they actually think that it is so easy that it will work itself out automatically. I don't need to engage people in the front line. I don't need to inform store managers that they're actually receiving the HappyOrNot feedback terminal and everything like that. So the easiness makes it too easy to fail as well. If the customer really doesn't have the mindset, long-term mindset to achieve, to do the big change with it, to equip their people, to engage their people. I think that's what keeps me up mostly in the night, that it is actually possible to use this, to utilize this service so many ways. And necessarily all of those ways are not the right one.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. So let's talk about success. So what does success look like to you and HappyOrNot in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's quite simple for us. We are after long-term customer relationships. Like you mentioned, we are developing this solution in cooperation with our customers. So our customers have a big role in helping us to decide what will be the items in the future roadmap in the 1 year, 2 year, 5 years from now on. So that is really important. So basically our success is based on the one important KPI for us is the customer retention, customer growth. And we know from the 10 years of experience that successful deployment includes a plan with the customer, with the client, how they would engage their people, their customers. It includes the mutual success plan, which we follow mutually. It's quite simple. If we manage to support our clients to empower their organization with the power of transparent, real-time CX or EX data, the outcome is always positive and we retain the business. The idea is that the technology enables us to help our clients to be on the top of their game, to improve their business, to improve their performance, to retain their customers and retain their employees as well. So we always like to think that we are among the good guys who are actually helping everyone every stakeholder in the business. We are helping management, we are helping customers, we are helping, especially we're helping employees, which is sometimes is a bit neglected part of the business, especially the frontline employees. And like you said, they are actually doing the hard work and they are the artists of the customer experience. So we want to focus them. We want to help our clients to focus in them. And there's so much to do on that front still.
Thank you. Yeah. So this last year, we've lived in this pandemic around COVID-19. How have you guys dealt with the disruption that's globally happened within HappyOrNot to still be successful and move forward during this pandemic?
First thing that we did is that we reacted the way that would actually change the HappyOrNot terminal to be touchless, which basically meant that we implemented a system that could swap the touchscreen terminal from the one that requires touch into touchless, and that would happen through the QR code. So that was the first thing that we did. Of course, ongoingly, we have been developing our digital product suite as well. So we have been emerging the development of that part of the business a bit more. So basically already today, it is possible to include HappyOrNot feedback survey to, let's say, if you are doing a payment with your mobile phone, we together with the payment service provider actually can put it in your personal mobile phone and so on. Of course, it's only a question of, technology enables everything. We like to build new partnerships with different kind of companies who are having important role in the lives of the retailers, in the service companies, in the healthcare companies, and we partner with them. We enable new kind of use cases for HappyOrNot and so on. So it has always been in our thinking, in our roadmap. And of course, now that so many businesses has actually closed their doors, it kind of forced us and it enabled us to jump a bit forward and disrupt our own roadmap as well. Of course, HappyOrNot terminals have came back in the most of the businesses which are open. So of course, scientifically, HappyOrNot doesn't spread the pandemic. And of course, we have helped our customer to do little additions, to have hand sanitizer stand within the HappyOrNot device, to have information posters next to them that please be thoughtful and things like that. So that business is not going away, but also during this situation, we have been taking some leaps on the field of the digital solutions as well.
Awesome. So Ville, one of the things that we really want to do is to give a call to action to all of our listeners on the podcast. So what is the one thing you would want our listeners to take away from your story and the HappyOrNot story and what you've shared with us today?
I would say that one takeaway I would like everyone to get from this is that don't be afraid to be transparent and think about your people, the hard-working frontline people as assets. They're not a burden and they possess a huge unlocked potential. We see this over and over and over and over again, that when the companies are brave and they actually dare to give more power and more responsibility to the people in the front line and equip them to success, most of them will, step forward and actually they will improve their productivity. We see that the companies improve their employee retention as well, because something like this, appreciation continuously, daily appreciation from the real customers you are serving, that's just, it makes your workday more fulfilling and so on. You mentioned the healthcare companies related to the pandemic. What we have seen, we did plenty of phone calls with the customers, including the American healthcare organizations. And one thing that was highlighted by them during the really difficult pandemic situation was that actually it's maybe almost the best moment of the day to have a look at the HappyOrNot feedback. Because then you actually, in the middle of the craziness, you remember that at least the patients, they really do appreciate, and their families, they really do appreciate what we do here. And that's really important, human aspect to this all.
Great. Love the call to action there. Well, Ville, it has come to that point where we do this thing called the combustion questions, where I'm going to ask you 3 randomly selected questions, and you don't get a lot of time to think about them, and you just need to give us your gut answer on them. So here we go, and we're going to jump into combustion question number 1. If a world famous bar was to name a drink after you, what would be in that drink?
That would be totally transparent drink. I think there would be gin and tonic has been invented already. Some sort of version of gin and tonic, I think.
Okay, so you're a gin drinker.
Yes.
I might have a new gin that I might have to send to you that we've come into contact with. So
awesome.
All right. Question number 2. Are you more of a cat person or a dog person?
Very easy. A dog person.
And what type of dog?
We have a rescue dog. Actually, I mentioned to you, we lived 2 years in America, so we actually adopted a new family member from that trip.
Awesome. All right. Your last combustion question, Ville. What do you think about T-shirts?
I like them.
Yes, and I actually think I have a Happy or Not T-shirt. And before we did this, you were wearing yours, I saw. So, well, thank you, Ville. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your journey and the Happy or Not journey. We love the whole organization. We partner with you guys on several things. And until we can see each other again in person, Ville, thank you again, and be safe and be well.
Thank you very much, and same words to you and all the listeners. It's always great to have a chat with you and enjoy a lot.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Combustion Chronicles. None of this would be possible without you, the listener. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and at SeanNason.com. Or if you're on Clubhouse, find me there. Give me a shout and join our disruption movement. And be sure to check out my new book, Kiss Your Dragons, Radical Relationships, Bold Heart Sets, and Changing the World. Available now at Amazon. Yeah, most people think you ought to slay dragons, but to really soar, you have to make friends with them and even kiss them. Finally, check out this episode's downloadable recap page at SeanNason.com. We know you lead busy lives, so if you're driving, exercising, or maybe you're just blowing your own shit up, don't worry. We've already taken the notes for you, and each recap page is filled with exclusive guest information, episode themes, quotes, resources, and more. And remember, please subscribe, rate, and review if you like what we're doing. And if you don't, do it anyways. Stay safe and be well.